Hello. Happy Atauchiigñiq. Happy Monday. Bright Shores is dedicated to bringing you one or two stories from this fantastic ancient Inupiaq history reference every Monday to brighten your day, to bring you a new perspective perhaps you hadn't thought about, or to share an old story you know about. So with that being said, let's jump right in. We are on page 60. We're following up with last week's story, The Beginning of the Universe. So let's continue here. They're going to be talking about Umiat, which is an ancient Inupiaq site that is known to have existed during the time of the Big Flood. So we have Aaluk Bertha Levitt, another Aaluk, my Atik. She says here on page 60, I have heard a legend about how Umiat up there got its whale bones. It is said that it used to be the seacoast a long, long time ago, and then although many young men went to fetch land with their kayaks, one young man by the name of Puiguitkaat finally succeeded in getting some land using his kayak, and therefore made it bigger. That is how I heard it when Amawak told the legend. Why there are whale bones at Umiat. They say it used to be the coastline a long, long time ago. And then a little bit, Levi Greist says, that person that got the whale whom they called Puiguitkaat, although he was a man, he had a mandible there. He caused the land to rise up out of the water and also caught a whale there at Umiat. According to the legend, the water began at Umiat. The flood waters receded from there. I don't know where the coast was before the flood started. That I don't know either. And Levi Greist's Inupiaq name is Uyaġaaluk. Kakkiññaq, Elijah Kakkiññaq, who told the story last week, jumps in and says, that also I know of, and can tell you a legend about it. Again, I am able to tell of its beginnings. It is said that Umiat had a chief. At that time long ago, that village of Umiat there had a chief. Again, I am able to tell a legend about it. This chief here in that village was said to have a daughter. He had a daughter. One day his daughter went to fetch some water, and when she was getting the water, every time she dipped some water, a down feather would cause itself to be dipped up. It is said that she quickly dumped it out time after time. She would dip again and again, but every time that feather would appear in her dipper. She would dump it out repeatedly. So the next time she found it in her dipper, she said, this isn't going to kill me. She drank. Without any apparent cause, she became pregnant. The reason became known. They say that the raven had come there so he could become the child in the womb of this woman, the chief's daughter. I am undoubtedly going to have some help on this because you will again have heard it before. Levi Greist says, I have heard it. But Elijah Kakkiññaq says, I'll go ahead and finish the story. As soon as she swallowed him, he quickly entered her womb, this raven. And so the baby in her womb grew very quickly. This woman, this young lady's. For no apparent reason, she had an illegitimate child. They don't know how it happened, but the baby in this young lady's womb grew very quickly. It is said that those people there would hunt whales, would hunt all types of sea mammals because there was lots of water there. Well, as they lived on like this, a mound that they speared sometimes would intermittently float to the top of the water, one with many things growing on it. Occasionally, it would just float to the top of the water. Of all the surrounding land, it was always the first to sprout vegetation before any other area even starts to grow. This place, Atauchiigñiq, is even to this day the first to grow vegetation. If you saw it, your reaction probably would be, my, has it become this time of year already? Even to this day, this still happens. Even when the snow has just melted, my, it has become this time of year already, because it's always the first to grow anything. Well, this young man became determined to do something about that mound, so he used his grandfather's boat to lead a group of men, heading every one of them in the direction of Atauchiigñiq. He had them spear that mound. He had become obsessed with spearing that mound, one full of growing things, the one which would from time to time float to the top of the water. It is said that it was a beautiful green whenever it surfaced. There are again many here who have heard this. Soon he began scolding them, telling them not to take time off to sleep. This person who had a growth on his forehead began scolding them. Wanting all of them to spear the mound, he had every one of the boats spear it. They hardly got any sleep at all, and every once in a while they would eventually see the mound when it surfaced. And so they began catching their sleep right inside their boats, taking game home to their families whenever they caught some. Here they were, these men, rarely able to get any sleep at all, taking turns sleeping in their boats way out there in the ocean, and every now and then catching a glimpse of the mound. Well, whenever the one with growing things chanced to surface, it just seemed to go up for only a moment and then it gets lost again. And so again he began scolding, commanding them to be on alert for the mound. This man who was acting like this, when the want of sleep overpowered him, you know how the bow of a boat? It's like this. They had a bow. It is said that this man with a growth on his forehead, just fell asleep leaning on the bow. As he was sleeping like that, he heard a slapping noise somewhere, and when he opened his eyes, lo and behold, directly in front of their boat was the mound. And so when he tried for a shot at Atauchiigñiq, his spear surprisingly embedded solidly into it. Exuberantly, he gave out a string of joyous whoops. Whoop, whoop, or probably ooey, ooey. It is said that the mound then slowly surfaced into view. When the man appeared, speared it solidly. Then the waters began receding from all of that land. So I'd like to read a short response to that. A couple pages later, they talk about some interesting things between 64 and 72. A lot of different parts of the story. They talk about animals, different people. Very, very interesting. Then on page 72, Uyaġaaluk, who is from the western part of Alaska. So we heard from like the interior. That's where Kakkiññaq is from, and also the north. Atauchiigñiq is from Point Hope, which is the oldest continuously inhabited settlement in North America. And so he has a similar story and some details to add. So here on page 72, Uyaġaaluk says, "That is how we are here at Point Hope. I myself am fortunate enough to have seen the spot where Uyaġaaluk struck the mound." That's what they called him in Point Hope. Uyaġaaluk. So these are all different variations on the word Uyaġaaluk, which is raven, and that's how you say Uyaġaaluk in North Slope dialect, Northern North Slope dialect. I just say Uyaġaaluk dialect. Maybe Wainwright says it different. We're all different, but similar. "These my relatives have seen it also," Uyaġaaluk says. "Our land here at Point Hope was said to have once been far out in the ocean, because it was this way thus. The shallow area which gets grounded ice, the edge of this area is probably more than 5 miles from land, the boundary of the grounded ice piles. They say that was part of the land where it used to be." He's talking about the ice used to be land, and that's how it continues, right? "It is said that when it had a bay there, as the winter whales returned, they used to hunt whales along there. Those are ancestors. That is what I have heard concerning that. I heard from time to time about Tulungingraq. We do often hear of the raven. That's right, Kakkiññaq responds. And then Uyaġaaluk finishes by saying, as I myself hear when they speak of Tulungingraq, they say he was a child in the womb of a young lady. And his mom told him this story a lot, he said. And it was dark then, without daylight also, but I have not heard it as having turned over. I will talk a while about it. I myself have heard it. It is said that this young lady's father had a bright ball. Each time he placed it outside, it would loosen and remove the dark sky. Each time he took it inside the sky would become dark. As with the raven, after thinking for a while, he became the child in the womb of the young lady. And that's all for chapter 2 of this amazing resource that I'm so grateful our ancestors and, our elders have put together. So join us again next week, I hope. We'll be moving along, reading new stories from new and old voices, and bringing in this new year, looking back, ancient history back, like tens of thousands of years back. So hope you enjoyed it and have a good day.